Narrated Ibn Umar, the Prophet observed the fast on the 10th of Muharram, Ashura, and ordered Muslims to fast on that day, but when the fasting of the month of Ramadan was prescribed, the fasting of the Ashura was abandoned. Abdullah did not use to fast on that day unless it coincided with his routine fasting by chance. Sahih Bukhari number 1898. The Book of As-Sawm, the fasting. Status Sahih. Narrated Aisha, the tribe of Quraysh used to fast on the day of Ashura in the pre-Islamic period, and then Allah's apostle ordered Muslims to fast on it till the fasting in the month of Ramadan was prescribed, whereupon the Prophet said, "He who wants to fast on Ashura may fast, and he who does not want to fast may not fast." Sahih Bukhari number 1893. The Book of As-Sawm, the fasting. Status Sahih. Narrated Abu Huraira, Allah's apostle said, when Ramadan begins, the gates of paradise are opened. Sahih Bukhari number 1898. The Book of As-Sawm, the fasting. Status Sahih. Narrated Abu Huraira, Allah's apostle said, when the month of Ramadan starts, the gates of the heaven are opened and the gates of hell are closed and the devils are chained. Sahih Bukhari number 1899. The Book of As-Sawm, the fasting. Status Sahih. Narrated Ibn Umar, I heard Allah's apostle saying, when you see the crescent of the month of Ramadan, start fasting, and when you see the crescent of the month of Shawwal, stop fasting, and if the sky is overcast and you can't see it, then regard the month of Ramadan as of 30 days. Sahih Bukhari number 1900. The Book of As-Sawm, the fasting. Status Sahih. Narrated Abu Huraira, the Prophet said, whoever established prayers on the night of Qadr out of sincere faith and hoping for a reward from Allah, then all his previous sins will be forgiven, and whoever fasts in the month of Ramadan out of sincere faith and hoping for a reward from Allah, then all his previous sins will be forgiven. Sahih Bukhari number 1901. The Book of As-Sawm, the fasting. Status Sahih. Narrated Ibn Abbas, the Prophet was the most generous amongst the people, and he used to be more so in the month of Ramadan when Jibril visited him, and Jibril used to meet him on every night of Ramadan till the end of the month. The Prophet used to recite the Holy Quran to Jibril, and when Jibril met him, he used to be more generous than a fast wind, which causes rain and welfare. Sahih Bukhari number 1902. The Book of As-Sawm, the fasting. Status Sahih. Narrated Abdullah bin Umar, Allah's apostle mentioned Ramadan and said, do not fast unless you see the crescent of Ramadan, and do not give up fasting till you see the crescent of Shawwal, but if the sky is overcast, if you cannot see it, then act on estimation, count Shaban as 30 days. Sahih Bukhari number 1906. The Book of As-Sawm, the fasting. Status Sahih. Narrated Abu Bakr, the Prophet said, the 2 months of Eid Ramadan and Dhul Hijjah do not decrease in superiority. Sahih Bukhari number 1912. The Book of As-Sawm, the fasting. Status Sahih. Narrated Abu Huraira, the Prophet said, none of you should fast a day or two before the month of Ramadan unless he has the habit of fasting, nawafil, and if his fasting coincides with that day, then he can fast that day. Sahih Bukhari number 1914. The Book of As-Sawm, the fasting. Status Sahih. Narrated Aisha, at times, in Ramadan the Prophet used to take a bath in the morning not because of a wet dream and would continue his fast. Sahih Bukhari number 1930. The Book of As-Sawm, the fasting. Status Sahih. Narrated Aisha, a man came to the Prophet and said that he had been burnt, ruined. The Prophet asked him what was the matter. He replied, I had sexual intercourse with my wife in Ramadan while I was fasting. Then a basket full of dates was brought to the Prophet and he asked, where is the burnt, ruined man? He replied, I am present. The Prophet told him to give that basket in charity as expiation. Sahih Bukhari number 1935. The Book of As-Sawm, the fasting. Status Sahih. Narrated Abu Huraira, a man came to the Prophet and said, I had sexual intercourse with my wife on Ramadan while fasting. The Prophet asked him, can you afford to manumit a slave? He replied in the negative. The Prophet asked him, can you fast for 2 successive months? He replied in the negative. He asked him, can you afford to feed 60 poor persons? He replied in the negative. Abu Huraira added, then a basket full of dates was brought to the Prophet and he said to that man, feed poor people with this by way of atonement. He said, should I feed it to poorer people than we? There is no poorer house than ours between its Medina's mountains. The Prophet said, then feed your family with it. Sahih Bukhari number 1937. The Book of As-Sawm, the fasting. Status: Sahih.